everyone here for another round of discussion on Talking Films Online. Talking Films Online, or TFO in short, is an informal coming together of academics, teachers, students, researchers, filmmakers, and cinephiles interested in cinema. More importantly, interested in talking and writing about cinema. The online group came together quite spontaneously during the pandemic and lockdown in June 2020. Dr. Geeta Vishwanath and I have been coordinating the activities of TFO since its inception, with people like Sanjay Kumar, Sridhar Modugu, K. Paniraj, Ajanta Sarkar, Murali Krishna, Tarkeshwar VB, Yagnashri, Rasha, Madhurima, Nandini, and many others who join the weekly discussions and enhance the quality of the discussion. So far, we have organized 218 online events. In fact, this is the 219th one, which include weekly discussions on a pre-decided film, besides a few month-long film festivals and discussions. For instance, this year in January, we had a Farmers Film Festival, and in March, we had a series of discussions on Kumar Shahani's films as a way of paying tribute to him. In September, we had a Kannada movie month where filmmakers like Prithvi Konanoor, Srinidhi Bengaluru, and screenplay writers like Ananta Chandreya joined the discussion. Many times, personnel from the film industry, such as directors, cinematographers, actors, join our weekly discussions. Filmmakers also often make available their films for TFO members to watch by generously sharing links to their films, and they also join the discussion. So we've had directors like Shashikant Anantachari, Utsav Gonwar, Jayan Cherian, Girish Kasarvalli, Adur Gopal Krishnan, Aparna Sen, Anjali Montero, and KP Jayashankar, and many others. And now Uma Magal has very kindly made available the link to her film and has also joined the discussion today for her film, Other Kohinoor's Rocks of Hyderabad. During June this year, to mark the 4th anniversary of TFO, we had organized the 4th smartphone short film competition for students between 18 and 25 years of age. And we had a grand award ceremony where the winners of the competition were announced. All this was online. Recently, on September 30th and October 1st this year, we had the first TFO International Seminar on Indian Cinema in the Digital Era, Continuities and Discontinuities, in collaboration with Forum on Contemporary Theory, Baroda. It is special that we also had a keynote speaker like Professor Swarnavel Ishwaran as one of the key speakers at the seminar. Our aim is to get a conversation going around cinema and to get as many people involved in the process as possible. With all our events being online, anyone and everyone interested in cinema is welcome to our forum. We have a blog called talkingfilmsonline.wordpress.com where we encourage all kinds of writings on cinema. We have a YouTube channel called Talking Films Online where you can watch some of our discussions. We are also on Facebook. TFO is a private group on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp as well, where we share links to the films and information about the weekly discussions. As I mentioned earlier, the filmmaker Uma Magal has joined us for the discussion today. Uma is not new on TFO platform. We had earlier discussed her film Players last year in March, when she, along with Gautam Sonti, had joined the discussion. Uma Magal is an independent filmmaker and teacher who works out of Hyderabad and Dublin. Her current film, Other Kohinoor's, The Rocks of Hyderabad, is on the unique landscape of Hyderabad, and it ties to the areas of cultural imagination. You could find more information about her at otherkohinoors.com. A very warm welcome, Uma, and hope to see you often on Talking Films Online. We also have with us this evening Dr. Anant Maringanti, who will initiate discussion on the film. Anant Maringanti is founder director of Hyderabad Urban Lab, an interdisciplinary team dedicated to tackling complex urban challenges in the global south. His work merges theoretical research with practical action, empowering marginalized communities and influencing urban policy. He's committed to mentoring the next generation of scholars, promoting geographical thinking, and fostering collaborations that bridge academia and real-world impact. A very warm welcome to you as well, Anant. And it's now over to you for you to initiate a discussion on this wonderful film that all of us here who have joined this evening have watched. We are looking forward eagerly to what you have to say, Anant. It's over to you now.
Thank you very much. The way you have introduced me has hopefully established very firmly that I'm not very qualified to speak about the film as a film. And I think I want to make that very clear. I'm not a film scholar. I do watch films, and I was very deeply interested in documentary filmmaking in an earlier incarnation of my life, but that was a long time ago. But I do have some things to say about the film as a very personal experience. I really enjoyed watching it, every bit of it, and I am personally aware of the entire journey of making this film from the very beginning when Uma and Manur began to work on this. Since then, I have been in touch, and I am aware of the enormous challenges, the dilemmas, the difficulties that they worked through to make this film. And my big congratulations to both of them, and the way in which this has panned out, and the way in which it has been received everywhere. And it's great that it's been discussed in so many different places and has received a very warm welcome everywhere. The thing that I'm actually qualified to speak a little bit about, where I'm hopefully will be saying something that will be meaningful for everyone to dip into and have a conversation around what could a film be doing in a context like this, is the issue of the landscape of Hyderabad. I have been working on the region of the Deccan, particularly the Hyderabad Deccan, for about 15 to 20 years now. I mean, I started first taking a serious interest in this when I was a journalist in the mid-90s, looking at this entire region, traveling very widely all over Telangana and parts of Andhra and parts of North Karnataka and southern Maharashtra. But at that time, I was mostly looking at agriculture. I was looking at soil types. I was looking at what people were doing with their livelihoods and so on. And I didn't think a lot about the longer histories of this region. But see, in the last 10 to 15 years, I've been a lot more focused on water bodies and rockscapes of the region. But again, more from a complex social science perspective. One angle is the whole issue of how did we begin to lose our hills and hillocks. Started with looking at the granite quarrying that was happening in Karimnagar and so on. And for me personally, that was very painful because I grew up in the Telangana region, actually spending a lot of time in all of these rocks and these caves as a child and as a teenager. I can think of countless days when I would just disappear from home and spend time in the hills and very close to the towns wherever I lived, and I lived in many small towns all over Telangana. What I was interested in actually when I began to look at the rocks and the hills was how did this actually become legally possible at this point of time? How did the idea that one could actually chip away at these hills in such a large scale fashion, in such a heartbreaking fashion. And when I say heartbreaking, I really mean it is heartbreaking. I don't know if any of you have ever traveled to Karimnagar, and particularly Karimnagar district and around Karimnagar town, where easily some 700 hillocks have been given out in quarrying leases to people who would bring huge machinery, which could literally slice through an entire rock face as if it's a block of butter. Granite quarried like that, cut through, would then be cut into large blocks of granite and then sent off via Kakinada port to China. It was very, very expensive. It would make a lot of money. And this kind of cutting off of rock faces was not very high in capital investment. All you needed was about 75 lakhs rupees worth of machinery. And the quarry licenses were always given for areas of less than 2 acres so that it would escape the environmental impact assessment requirements. And it would be classified as minor mineral, and therefore the actual revenue to the government was also all that not much, very small amount. These huge operations would employ no more than 10 or 15 people to actually strip down an entire hill. And at that time, when I made an estimation, it was about 3,000 crores worth business, which didn't even employ 3,000 people. And this was the scale of the operations in 2012, 2013. And so I began to wonder about the laws, the rules that made this possible, or the violation of law. It looked like everything was very much legal. The leases were legal. It's not as if there were a lot of breaking across the boundaries. There was a little bit of that, but that's not the issue. What we realized was something quite interesting. Essentially, what was happening in all of these places was that what were until then known as commons, revenue commons, were over a period of time begun to be treated as government property. These are commons such as Kondapuramboku, Vagupuramboku, Guttapuramboku, basically lands that are treated as wastelands, lands that had this dual meaning that at one level, these are lands that do not yield anything. They are wasted. They are performing suboptimally is one understanding. The other understanding of that, which is actually there in people's own lives, is that these are things that basically supported subsistence livelihoods. So these are the hills to which you go to pick up custard apple. This is where you take your goats and lambs and sheep for grazing. This is where you would go to pick up honey. This is where you have all of the in Karimnagar, actually, there were lots of these black bears. There were a lot of langurs in these hills. They would be living in scrub jungles, which are not very thick, big jungles or anything, but they were there. All of these were slowly being stripped away, and we found that at one point of time, the entire bear population of Karimnagar was hiding in Elaganla Fort because there was no other way where they could actually survive. They just got scared by all the quarrying that was happening, the cutting down of the hills. What we realized was that somewhere along the way, we have come to designate large tracts of land as wasteland, as land that doesn't yield any value to us in terms of money. The social signification of these tracts of land had already reached a point where it was not seen as anything very important. Now, If you can turn it into real estate, you can turn it into real estate. If you cannot turn it into real estate, then you can quarry it. If you cannot quarry it, if you cannot turn it into real estate, then you don't know what to do with it. Just kind of wait for it to somehow uh, uh, transform itself into something that is useful for you. Until then, it remains waste. Now, the second route through which these things actually came into these markets was due through the Garibi Hatao program. Some of it actually came through Bhudan movement because in the 50s, a lot of the rich landlords basically donated these hills, these rocks, these utterly useless pieces of land that they claimed they owned, and they donated it to the Bhudan movement. It was a very nice gesture of very magnanimously giving away something that you don't need to the movement and feel good about it. You actually get prized for it. They're actually not given anything at that point of time because it wasn't worth anything to you anyways. Those kinds of lands were eventually given away through temporary pattas to the Dalits in many, many villages, in many areas. That was the second thing that happened. Now, what happens with wastelands and Porambok land and so on and so forth is that they are actually surveyed through the regulatory department. There are boundaries marked in many places. And those boundaries are in some cases actually recorded through aerial photography in the 70s when NRSA, the National Remote Sensing Agency, first began its operations in the area. But all of those records are now somewhere lost. The revenue department has survey numbers and lines on paper and numbers written down, scribbled down on maps, which are supposed to correspond to some kind of boundaries on the ground, but you don't know exactly what those boundaries are because the older measured through the chain survey method, the rock markers that were there, the granite markers with the barbed wire fencing, those are all gone. They've just disappeared. So if you don't have those boundaries on the ground, or if they have been removed recently, then you don't know where property begins and where wasteland begins. You don't know where property begins and where the commons begins. You don't know where the wilderness begins and where the civilized land begins. You just don't know what that boundary is, right? And add on to this the story of urbanization, which is what the story of Hyderabad really is. Now, in Hyderabad, you have two or three different types of these kinds of commons. You have the forest land, the scrub land, and so on, often involving these kinds of rocky patches. You have water bodies, and most of these water bodies got created through the same process of landscaping that happened over millennia. Essentially, a very chaotic drainage pattern because this is the Deccan. The terrain is so uneven. When it rains, the water goes off in multiple directions. You don't know, like in the Gangetic Plain, which way the water could actually go north, south, east, west. But at some point of time, it gets accumulated at some point of time. And once that depression gets filled, the water again moves on, creating a series of both horizontally connected water bodies and vertically connected water bodies. You get a nice network, which if any of you have read Mokshamundam Visvesvaraya's Memoirs of a Working Life, he describes this as saying that, in an area of about 800 miles, you have 800 tanks. Every square mile has one tank. And these tanks are organized in some kind of a stepwise system, right? So every contour will have one series of tanks, and they can all be in some ways cascade into each other. And if one breaches at the top, then everything breaches for all the way down to the river because the pressure just keeps building as it comes down. This system and the rocks, they're very totally integrally connected. Right? You change the terrain, you change the rocks, you break the rocks, you are affecting the water bodies. And look at Hyderabad, anywhere, all around, you will find that where the rocks are gone, that's where the water bodies are also affected. This issue of the commons being lost, of the commons which are held through customary rights. Um, for example, potters take clay from there, washermen wash clothes there, fishermen catch fish there. There are all kinds of other customary rights. There are graveyard, there are grazing grounds in the hills on the sites. You have a lot of ecological non-human communities. You have bats, and then you have a number of species which are dependent on them. And these are all things that can be very easily spotted, tracked, understood by as systems by many of us who have lived here, who follow through these things, sit around in these rocks, spend a long time meditating over what is all around us. And can tell what's happening in terms of changes. That ability has been lost. The system has been deeply broken and fractured, so much so that there are now new linkages being formed. Some of them are very dangerous. A lot of the older linkages are broken, and they are very, very difficult now to restore. And this damage of the rocks, of the water bodies, of the streams, of the jungles, of the flora and fauna that are dependent on it, of the insects, of the snakes. This is the mess that we actually have in our hands now. What do we do with this? Where do we start? How do we act on this? To me, a film like The Other Kohinoors is a film that we should look at from this point of view. In what ways can this film be actually enrolled into a networking process which teaches us to pay attention to all the things that we have lost the ability to pay attention to? Teaches us to figure out how to work with these broken links. Teaches us the humility to say that maybe this is lost and we need to find a way of patching it up in a new way. Teaches us to say that this is something which we still have to fight against, and maybe re-engineer in a different way. What does the film and the activities around it allow us to do? In what ways can we connect with others using the film as one of our tools? That's the question that I would ask to get anywhere at all, because that's, to me, from my point of view, this is the one thing that I have been thinking about a lot over the last 10 years. Constantly trying to find small ways of making interventions, small ways of teaching people, small ways of getting people to be interested in the details of these ecosystems. Because if you don't know how to pay attention, if you're not mindful, if you're not capable of learning to be with yourself, if you're not learning to be with the world around you, which is still, even at this point of time, very, very beautiful, very, very rich. I mean, you just have to step out and you will see birds coming from over thousands and thousands of miles to be here. They don't go anywhere else. They just come here. Why do they come here? Why do they want to be with us? And what have we done to their nesting spots? Those are things, if we can begin to think about, I think we will get somewhere. So I'm just going to stop here. I don't want to go on talking about my own personal journey, but I hope that somewhere I have been able to communicate the fact that this personal journey is about an attempt to figure out how to connect with other people. And I want to know from all the people who are here how it helps them to make those connections. And I want to hear from Uma what her own experience with other screenings and the experience of actually traveling with this film has been. So thank you very much for giving me this chance to speak, and I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Anant. First, for kind of giving us a very different kind of a perspective, entry point into this film by telling us about the kinds of changes happening, not just in Hyderabad, but in other regions such as Karimnagar. And this whole question of a livelihood, commons, and how the rocks are a part of both economy and environment. The film is now open for discussion, and also Anant's the issues that Anant formulated in his opening remarks. Anyone who wants to come in, please unmute yourself so I know that you want to speak. And if Uma, you want to come in at any point, please let me know. Yes, Geeta, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Uma, for your lovely film, and Anant for your introduction, which was really illuminating, because the things that you spoke about are not something that I am really familiar with. As far as the film goes, well, I loved watching it. I really enjoyed it. And I loved the music that you have used in the film, and also the way you have, crafted it. And I think as a documentary, it is really a very successful one, because, basically a documentary is meant to, um, you know, teach. There is a pedagogic value to documentary cinema, and to that extent, it is a very successful film. And with regard to the environment issues that Anant raised, I live in Baroda, and Baroda also once upon a time had more than 100 lakes, and we have lost many of them. So I think this very sadly is happening in most parts of the country, and there's a great deal of callousness towards these issues as well. I don't have anything more to really add to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Geeta. Anyone else who wants to come in, please let me know. While people gather their thoughts, Uma, thanks again for giving us the opportunity. This is my third viewing, and I enjoyed it tremendously. The first time I watched the film was all by myself. And the next time it was in a public viewing with you as well. And this time Tarakeshwar and I were watching it together. So each viewing has been a very different kind of experience, in the sense I have noticed this time particularly, I noticed certain things that maybe I hadn't kind of paid attention to so much in my last couple of times. The first is the way in which you frame the visuals. There is so much of the way in which you narrativize these visuals, starting with the kind of entry point through your your short 3-line, 4-line kind of paratextual writing that is allowing us to enter the film, or the way in which you let us say position the film for us. For instance, this point that you, I mean, it's not simply a nostalgic journey of what is past. So I was noticing these things. I was noticing how you were asking us not to just look at, your film as a nostalgia for what we have lost, but also a kind of a cultural journey, a cultural journey which is alive in some ways, through the food or through the stories we tell. So it's not a harking back to a yesterday which we don't have anymore, but why or what is at stake in keeping what we have around us alive. Because the rocks don't just represent part of the landscape out there, but how it is part of our imaginary, as people living in the city. So, and also the stories. I remember when I had a conversation with you, I told you, I mean, I enjoyed how charming the stories were. So the way, again, you narrativize the visuals, the kind of mixing of visuals, the animations, the stills, and also the various landscapes that you bring, the shots with the animals. I mean, there is so much thoughtfulness in which the visuals are framed through the lyrics, the songs, and the way the songs work, and B, the voiceover. So this time I noticed quite a bit of the verbal elements earlier, which kind of somehow, as you watch it the first time, you saw kind of it's a part of the viewing experience. But this time I was paying greater attention to how all these words are making us regard what we see. So I thought that was very, very wonderfully done in the film. Also, and I think I had also mentioned this earlier, the way in which you weave in and out of different languages, that is so characteristic. I mean, generally when one thinks of a documentary, the only sound that one expects to hear is a voiceover, kind of sermonizing us about issues. But this is not that. You're not sermonizing. You're telling us stories. You're taking us along with you on, on certain kinds of trips. So I thought the kind of cadence that the words bring is very, very wonderful and evocative in the film. The visuals, of course, are there, but if somebody were to tell me that this is a film about rocks, I mean, and all that one can expect is to see rocks on screen. But what you have done with those visuals, I thought is wonderful. So congrats again, and best wishes for all your efforts in making more and more people watch and enjoy your film. I think there's so much room for provocative thought and discussion that is possible through your film. Thanks, Uma. Yeah. Anyone else who wants to come in at this point, please let me know. Unmute yourselves and let me know. Somesh, oh, okay. Fabian, would you like to come in?
I don't have much to say. It's beautiful. I really enjoyed this film. And I wish I could have seen this film before I went to Hyderabad. I think I would have seen the town, the city, and with different eyes. So I said, why do I see it only now? I should have seen it before I came, and I should have tasted biryani, I like biryani. I didn't know there was very good biryani in Hyderabad. So now it's very original, and it gives a wish and the desire just to go take a plane and go there. So thank you so much.
Yeah, so I think Fabian is also complaining we didn't allow her to taste Hyderabadi biryani. Anyone else who would like to come in? Yes, Sita, please go ahead.
Hi, Uma. Hi, Anant. Hi, everybody. I wanted to ask a question, Uma, that you, in conversations we have had, you have emphasized in the past and at screenings that your film is not to be seen as a documentary, was not meant as a documentary, and isn't to be seen as a documentary in the sense of something either reflecting or responding to what shall I say, to the environment as you saw it, but kind of through the prism of culture and art and all that everyone has been talking about here. But I was wondering if you could respond to or speak to the opening remarks that Anant made about the commons and talk about this film as a lens through which a certain kind of reflection happens through your eyes, through the filmmaker's eyes. Also against another context in which you have been talking about artivism, right? So is a film as not necessarily, pedagogically didactic or trying to make change in a particular way, but trying to say that this can contribute to social change in a particular way. Is this a stab at artivism, or is it artivism of a sort?
Uma, you can, respond right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There's a number of thoughts come to my mind. First of all, thank you, TFO, so much. I love this forum, and I've been here before, and it always raises interesting questions for me to ponder and sort of take back home and, mull over. So thank you once again. Thank you, Anant. You've really contextualized it in such a eloquent way, starting with your own. I loved hearing about your experience in the caves and going from home, and the rock caves, and your own love for the rocks. I really, really enjoyed hearing that part as well as the rest. The linkages, the broken linkages, the commons, the lost commons, the whole way that the development of cities takes over natural heritage. These are the issues that we wanted to address. I mean, that's exactly what the core of the film's need is. That's what we wanted, because we felt that loss, we felt that grief in the same way that you describe. And that's where Mahanur and I started. And I really, really want to make it clear to everyone that this is not my film. This is a huge team and of very passionate people who came together to give of their talent very, very generously. And so it's really a team effort in such a profound way. I can't even begin to say how important to understand that is. Starting with Manur, and then all our musicians, all our artists, and there are people here, Sita, Tayaba, Jhilam, people who really helped us get the word out and show this film and start that conversation that we want, to try and build that citizen voice that seems to be the only hope to save what we have left. So that's really the space this is coming from. That's the context. And, Anant has set it up really beautifully. That's really the core need that we came from, that loss of the commons and the linkages, and then the huge loss of natural heritage that we are so blessed with. And Fabian, I'm so glad to meet you. I see you sometimes on the group, and I must share with you that I can't tell you the number of times I've heard what you've said, that seeing this film makes people want to go to Hyderabad, makes them wish, see it anew. That's really, one of the most wonderful things that we've sort of heard. And it really makes one feel that it's worthwhile to have made this film, regardless of what effect it has. Sita, I'll come to your point about what we'd hope to achieve and, sort of want to achieve. But first off, that documentation has happened and people realize that here is a unique city, here is a unique landscape that works in very, very profound ways to give us the chance to live in balance, for the human and the non-human to live in balance. So, thank you for saying that, and I will take it back to the team.
Yes, it's an invitation to go, really. And also, I wanted to ask if I could share this with the French public, because I think people going to Hyderabad would love to see that, to hear that.
Absolutely. Please do.
Can I share it? I was
Yes, yes.
asking.
Please
I
do
can
so.
share it.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is a labor of love. It's a free film. It's free for the city. It's free for anybody. That's what Mahanur, my partner in this, and we from the beginning we started with this plan, and that's where we are. So please do. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it belongs to everybody. It's part of our commons, as we,
Well, that's a good generosity. Thank you.
So, Nikhila,
I have just a comment that I wanted to make. On the short time that I've been associated with the film and with Uma and Mahanur, I saw the effort that went into it, but what really impressed me was when the film ended, it wasn't the end. They had an outreach plan to reach children and young adults who may or may not have actually viewed the film when it was shown. And to me, that was a way of carrying the message on for repeatedly and over again, and the generosity to show it as a free viewing to anybody who's interested in sharing it with others, I think was what really impressed me.
Thank you, Taiba, and your generosity is part of this. I can't.
And the fun times.
I can't say enough times how many people, and we keep calling it a Hyderabadi thing. Everyone's been really amazing. Taiba, we stayed in her house. She was our headquarters. So what can I say? Well, I mean, I hope I've made that point very, very clearly.
Yes, you did.
Nikhila, really the narration of the film, we were very, very careful about it. Mahanur and I were both very clear that we didn't want that, voice of God person telling us about geology and, telling us how to think about everything. We didn't want that for sure. And I'm so happy that it worked out, that, a response like yours, has come, and, it worked out. That it was an actual way to pull people in rather than push them away. That was really what we were after. And it was a discovery. We didn't know anything when we set out, and the research, we hounded Anant in HUL offices, for information, for all kinds of contacts. So many people, like that. And the matter came to us that way. It was very organic to the process. We didn't set out saying, okay, this is how we'll make the film, this is how it'll happen. When the content came to us, that sort of dictated the form. And that was a very beautiful discovery, actually. And someone in Delhi, we just screened at the Kiran Nadir Museum, and the curator there, she said it so beautifully. She said, what the film showed me is how geography shapes culture. And that we've never heard it put that way, but that was exactly what we found. That our whole lives are what we sing, what we talk, what we eat, what we tell, is all shaped by this geography that we're in the middle of. So, that was a absolutely wonderful discovery. And that is what sort of geared us to take this journey in this way. So that was about the narration. Anant had asked what was to talk a bit about the reception of the film. I can't tell you how inspiring the reception has been. It is like what Fabian said. For one thing, non-Hyderabadis, of course, say that, oh, we never realized this about Hyderabad. We didn't even know Hyderabad has rocks. We didn't even know the landscape, this beautiful rock, water, lake, green. You know, the color palette of Hyderabad is really green, blue, brown. You know, it's a beautiful color palette, which we tried to keep in the film for large stretches, except when we broke it with the beautiful Cherial and the Tolubo Malata and all that. But that's a common response we found, that we never knew this about Hyderabad. We're seeing Hyderabad in a new way. And not just outsiders, but Hyderabadi is saying it. So that was a real point of reception that we were really, really inspired by, that, wow, we can do this. People will see this. You know, that took us further. And like what Taiba was saying, we've done a long outreach. For 2 years, we did the outreach. We're still doing it. Even though we've released the film free to the public, because we want as many people as possible to see it, so that that citizen voice that we're after, we can't think of any other way to help the situation. We are a tool. We're very clear that we're just a tool in this whole process of, you know, keeping what we have been blessed with. And like Anant said, it's a how this tool gets used is what we're trying to shape here. And so the reception in schools and colleges, we've screened, and, you know, it's now part of the curriculum in art and architecture colleges, in the Telangana State Forest Academy, Police Academy. They screen it every year to their new recruits in their training. We've been screening in schools. Many schools have made it part of their curriculum. And now we're on this big, you know, mission to get it into the Telangana government schools, because we do feel that whenever we screen it in schools, the children come back very proud, you know, and that's something very inspiring to us, that they feel this pride that this is our city, this is who we are. For ourselves also, this was a discovery. You know, even we are like, you know, not very far from children. We are not at all children, but even for us, this was a discovery. It was not just about finding out about, you know, the space we inhabit, but about ourselves in that space. And so that kind of reception happens with the children, and that is profound for us, you know. And so that's why, even though we've released the film, we're continuing with the screenings. We have, like Taiba said, we have a outreach program, we have outreach managers, and fortunately, there is more and more people and volunteers have joined us. And so we're able to set up these screenings and send discussants to talk about issues that may come up and questions that are raised. So that kind of momentum, that kind of reception has been really wonderful. And as a documentary filmmaker, you know, at one very small level, it is a documentary film. We are documentary filmmakers. And for us, from that perspective, this is an amazing journey. We didn't expect this. I'm just, for those who don't know, I mean, so many of you all are common, friends, and I know you all, and you all know this project. But for those who don't know, this started because, you know, for 10 years, I raised my children in an area called Gachibowli. Although I'm from Domalgura, but the children grew up there. And at that point, there were these amazing rocks all around. And we used to take them, the Society to Save Rocks did some lovely rock walks, and we used to take the children on them. The Greater Hyderabad Adventure Club did bouldering sessions, and so the children went, we took them on that. And so the rocks were a part of their life, just like they were a part of my life growing up and Mahanoor's life growing up. And so many people who contributed, the musicians, everyone talks about the rocks being a part of life. And in fact, just now, tomorrow, there's a article on Shyam Benegal, who we just lost, who gave us a marvelous response when he saw the film. And he says, it was a delight to see it. It took me back to my childhood, because he grew up among those rocks. And he says, you know, his quote is, and this is repeated by so many Hyderabadis coming back into town in different ways, train, cycle, motorcycle, runners, plane. He says, my eyes would mist over when the plane landed at Begumpet Airport and I saw those rocks of Trumilgiri and Maulali. You know, it's that emotional, that connection with the rocks. And so, you know, people, that kind of, okay, I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying about? Yeah, basically that connection, that homecoming, that sense of homecoming to Hyderabad, we found it over and over again. And so we're going to keep going with the outreach. I really have lost my train of thought there. Something
No, you
has.
were talking about your children and how you.
Ah, yes, yes. So they, you know, so in front of us in those 10 years, the rocks went. You know, all kinds of development happened, and you know, there were offices, homes, all kinds of things built, roads, and all those rocks went, and they were so sad. They really sort of took it hard. Not just my children, but our colony children. All of us parents would take them on the rocks. And that grief, you know, the film started at a very small level. I thought I'll make a 5-10 minute film. Manu joined me. We thought we'll make it. We'll talk to the children. We'll show it in their schools. We'll show it in the colonies, and we'll just talk and help them process that grief. And we were also feeling that, no? So we thought we'll all do this, and you know, we have these basic skills, filmmaking. We'll make it. And then it has just sort of gone on to grow into this massive undertaking. And journey that we've been on. So it started in grief, and that, to go back to what Anant was saying, that loss of those commons, and you know, that was really the start of the film. I will, if shall I go to what Sita was asking, Nikhila?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can respond, or if there is someone else whose question, you know, you want to take up as well, we can open it out, or you can just go ahead and.
Let me hear more, because you know, if I start talking, I don't stop. So let me stop.
Okay. Jeelam, you want to come in? You want to say something? I see that you've posted the link to your interview with Uma in the chat group. Do you want to come in? Do you want to respond?
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Uma. Good evening, everyone. Yes, actually, when Uma was sharing about her children, I just remembered our interview. She says the same thing there, that it started out so small, and because you're so passionately involved with it, it turns out into something you never expected. And I think this film is a very thoughtful project in what we could call as cultural geography. And there are many other interesting points we talk about in this interview. So I thought I'll just share the link in the comment box. Anybody who's interested, you can read about it. And I asked Uma, I remember, about the structure of the film, and I said, I really love the way you have blended the idea of art and craft. You've used so much of visual storytelling, like a visual, poetry that is running through. And I remember she said this, that the less you preach, the more everyone will learn. And I think that's the core of the film, and that has hit with many people, and that's why we're loving it. Not just loving the rocks again, but also the way the film tells us to connect with, nature and the environment and bring it back. Of course, most of it is gone, but whatever is left, can we save it? Can we bring a balance between progress and preservation? That's all I would like to say. And thank you, Dr. Anant. I really liked your introduction, and the way you contextualized it, your personal connection to the rocks, and how you used to go and sit for hours together. Because I also studied at University of Hyderabad, and within the campus there are many rocks. I hope they're still there. And we used to do the same thing late in the night with a cup of coffee. We used to go and hang out on the rocks. I mean, talk to them, speak to them, and I still write about the rocks of Hyderabad, those that are gone and those that are left. So this film really resonated with me, and Dr. Anand's introduction was very touching. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeelam, for your response. Anyone else who would like to come in now? Rajan, Madhurima, Tarakeshwar. Murli Krishna, sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, all. First of all, I should thank Dr. Anant for giving a very good introduction to this film. Now, congratulations to Uma also. It is a very thoughtful film. And I think one or two points I would like to speak. Now, there is a mention of this water community there, the chip of the rocks, using physical chipping off the rocks. I think you are trying to highlight this anthropocentric environmental ethics, as it is called. I think I had an inkling of that, akin to the role of Adivasis, who have played that role over generations in conserving nature. I think you are making a point. You are trying to portray that point while showing that water community. I mean, it's water community. The film has a wonderful tapestry of various art forms intertwined with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to address that just very quickly. The wonders. If you notice in the film, we don't have people. We only have the wonders, really. Because they are the people whose lives are really bound up with stone. And Nikhila, I remember, did an interview with Mahanur and I for HLF, and Nikhila, I remember you very astutely sort of saw what we were trying to do in the film, with the wonders and then the explosion afterwards. We do sort of say, we show the wonders, the skill, it's an enormous skill, and even Mr. Benegal spoke so much about it. This interview will be coming out tomorrow. I hope people, it's also going to be put on the TFO blog, Nikhila said, so you all are welcome to read it. And he spoke of them as they could cut the rocks like you cut bread or you cut butter. That's the ease and the skill and the craft and the knowledge that they brought off this surface. And in the film, that's what we tried very hard to show, that, there is using rocks for our sustenance or whatever, and then destruction. So when in the film, when the wonders are doing it, there is skill, there is human labor, there is toil, there is all kinds of stuff going on. And we are using the stone that we get with such care, with such precision, even the use of the snow. There's very little waste happening at that time. And then we go to the explosion with the bombs, with the dynamite. And that contrast, Nikhila, I remember you pointed that out so well. And that is what is taking us down this road of no return, where we can never get back the rocks that we lose. It's not going to come back. We can't grow them back. Not that we should destroy trees and grow them back. That's also unfeasible. But this is totally impossible, right? There's no coming back from dynamiting a rock. So that kind of contrast, we were really very keen to bring out, Mr. Murli Krishna. And I'm happy that you sort of, you stayed with that wonder section, because it was very, very important to us in the film.
Yeah. Anyone else who wants to come now? Rajan, Madhurima, Tarkeshwar.
Madhurima is from CIFL. It's the same.
Yes.
My God, we'll never forget the screening we did. Coming back to the issue of reception, Anant. Oh my God, we did a screening at Madhurima can tell us about it. And there were some diplomats from some 30 countries, young people, not like,
okay, this is, you would have interacted with Madhumita.
Oh, sorry. That's why I was checking. Sorry. Yeah, so Madhumita. So that response, there were people from Tajikistan, who were saying, we want to take this film, I want to take this film, and I want to show it to my filmmakers in Tajikistan to say, make films like this about our landscape. Because this is what, we have such wondrous beauty in our landscape in Tajikistan, that why aren't we showcasing it like this? So, that kind of reception is the joy of making this film. So there's that too. There's a lot of grief and a lot of torture, but there's also that. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Tarkeshwar? Yeah, please go ahead.
I was trying to be not to be nostalgic, but everyone is on the trip. Especially when we were students at University of Hyderabad, not only on the campus that we had a close connection with the ROCKS, but whenever the new students come, in fact, I used to take them overnight to Mushroom Rock and stay there the entire night and then come back in the morning. So that was one way of socializing with the newcomers, introducing them the campus, but not just the campus, but the entire stretch from Medipatnam to Lingampally, University of Hyderabad, was full of rocks on either side. Or there used to be a lake. And that was a kind of nostalgic trip. But whenever I go that side now to University of Hyderabad, I can't reconcile myself with the changed scenario on that entire route now. I think the movie also shows those tall buildings with from the vantage point of the mountains there. So in that sense, I'm on a nostalgic trip. I do miss what was there earlier and the memories that are associated with that. But I was simply thinking about the new generation of students. I think there was only one restaurant, that was a kind of dhaba somewhere on that road. Not even a big dhaba kind of thing, a kind of art structure. But today, I think for most of the students in University of Hyderabad, their memories will be associated with the restaurants in and around Lingampally, Madhapur, Gachibowli area, including the Manu students would be. I think each generation will make their own memories and they would like to preserve it. So in that sense, nostalgia is good, but a certain kind of nostalgia where we would like to revive the knowledge that is associated with the earlier times might slip into glorifying certain kind of knowledge that is passed on from generation to generation within a community. I think we also need to recognize that it is not a contrast what the Wadders or the Bowie community was doing earlier, and they were not doing it. It was a profession for them earlier too, and it was ascribed to them. And I don't know whether, yes, when it was ascribed to you, once you start doing it, you might love it, and you might have certain kind of ritual practices associated with that profession, with that kind of knowledge, that they're all fine. But in spite of that, what I was trying to say is that the breaking of this connection between the community and the knowledge that happens is also important. And how the new college comes and in these community boundaries get erased and the communities are shaken up from what they were doing earlier, and then their kind of mobility that they achieve or not achieve. Both are possible because it has been well documented by the scholars now that with the entry of both colonialism and modernity, how certain communities lost their profession and what was the kind of loss that incurred. And it is also true that they have moved on and moved to other new spaces that were created. In that sense, it has both positive and negative impact. So, if we go overboard on our nostalgic trip, we might end up endorsing a certain kind of social structure that existed along with that kind of practices, professions, and do. So that's why I was trying to avoid being nostalgic, but I couldn't. I think it's a necessity for us to go back to it, but also try to be dispassionate about certain things. I do agree with the points that have been made, the ecological loss and the kind of biodiversity that was associated with it. But I have also seen that certain kind of discourses around biodiversity also stress on the community diversity that existed in India. A community diversity which is also hierarchical. So we need to be very careful when we endorse biodiversity too, and then the other things. So in that sense, it is not a contrast. The scale with which the human beings exploited nature earlier and the scale in which we are exploiting it now, thinking that all these things exist only for us, not for other beings. The scale is different. I don't see it as a kind of contrast. So I don't want to stress the point that earlier we were more respectful to our nature, not anthropocentric. Now we have become anthropocentric. We have been anthropocentric for the last 200, 300 years, even maybe even earlier too. So the scale in which it is happening is really alarming. I have no doubt about it. But we should also see the other impact of these changes too. In that sense, how the new memories are being made, and what do these new memories tell us about the new social structures that are being created too. That only with that kind of small caution, that is that way about the discussion, not about the film per se. The film itself is wonderful, and I enjoyed it. Thank you for the film, and also thanks Anant for the background that he gave about how the commons are being treated by the state, the custodian of the commons now, the state. So in that sense, it was a very good background to the entire film and the issue too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tarkeshwar. Yes, Uma and Anant, if you want to come in again. Yes, go
I
ahead.
am very small, but I would love Anant to respond to it. In fact, this discussion, this point is taking me back to when we were in your office, Anant, Manur and I, and you told us so much about the professions that were tied to the lakes and the rocks. You know, I remember that conversation very well. So I'd love to hear from you about all that he said. But Tarkeshwar, I think it's so right what you're saying. I think I can only talk about films. There's a whole film to be made about the changes of memory. You know, that's a beautiful topic, and you know that would just be such a moving film, moving way to make a film also about landscape, how memory changes with it. You know, so thank you for raising that point. Yeah, and yeah, I agree. You know, about the way that you know, when we talk of biodiversity, we must be very careful not to, you know, solidify age-old hierarchies. I think you're so right on point on that. With the Vadders, we were very careful to choose the footage from the footage what we had with, you know, there's no safety in what they do. And we hope people took that with them when they saw the film. You know, the feet are bare, the hands are bare, everything. There's such, you know, sorry, someone was saying something.
No, go ahead, go ahead. I think it was some
No,
background.
that's all I wanted to say. That basically, you know, we were careful to show also the problems with how the Vadders are treated by society. The role they play is absolutely so very, very important, and the kind of you know, taking from nature that when we work with the Vadders signifies so much more sustainable than what we do with the dynamite. It's enough said. But we wanted also to show the lack of safety, the lack of living conditions, and I hope the visuals spoke to that. So yeah, Anant, please take over.
Anant, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to add a lot. Just want to say that one of the things that I'm repeatedly struck by in the city is that somehow with changes in the ecology, changes in the elements of the ecology around us, which is the bigger features, we have somehow lost the ability to sense with our own bodies. And I think the important thing about rocks that many of us don't realize is that when you put your hand on the rock, when you build a relationship with the rock, it kind of stabilizes you. It's a very, very personal relationship. It's a relationship that gives you a sense of somehow centering a little bit in all of the decentering that is happening around you. And I mean it very seriously. A lot of the people who are avid climbers actually come from that. They come to climbing and they keep going back to it because of that experience. And taking from that, if you just begin to think a little bit about what's happening all around us, when I said that, small little linkages are broken, one of the things that we notice all around Hyderabad is these flocks of cattle egrets, these white birds that sit on the backs of buffaloes as they're walking through slush. They sit on those backs of the buffaloes because these birds have straight beaks. They don't have hooked beaks, right? So they can't dig and scoop up food. So when the buffaloes walk through the slush, the mud gets turned around and then the birds pick up their food in that. But now you see flocks of them in all of the nalas in the city without the buffaloes. Right? Something very strange has happened. It is just simply that there is food available and these populations are increasing. You're seeing a lot of increase in the population of cliff nesting pigeons all around the city. Right? These are birds that actually originally were semi-wild. They were in cliffs. But now what they're doing is to sit in our ventilators. They're sitting in our elevator shafts and so on, right? These kinds of things are just the tip of the iceberg. If you start paying attention to things, and there are actually people who pay attention to things, and they're not many, but they're there, and nobody actually acknowledges that. So, for example, when we ran a small ecology club in our office, as to partly stabilize our football club, and we asked the kids to map all non-human life in the neighborhood, we found that there were fireflies in our municipal ward. We had no idea until these kids pointed out that, look, here is the graveyard, here is where the fireflies are sitting. Right? They told us that, look, here is where your sparrows are, and these sparrows are here because there's grains right next to it. So there are relationships here which are very, very important, which some kids, some old people, some mothers are noticing, and that noticing things is not being valorized, it is not being passed on, and so on and so forth. So I think part of the work that needs to be done in our cities is to actually figure out how to valorize these kinds of practices of paying attention to things and recording, capturing, writing about it, talking about it, telling stories about it. That's the work that needs to be done. And we don't quite know how to do that. There are, let's say in Bangalore, there are groups that have been doing it. In Delhi, I know groups that have been doing it. In Hyderabad, I haven't seen a lot of it. I think it's really, really important that we push for that. One of my younger colleagues who moved from Delhi to Hyderabad has recently started doing this. Basically adopted a small park in Jubilee Hills, in Banjara Hills. It's called the Prem Nagar Rock Garden. There are lots of rocks inside it. And she started a project called Critarabad to celebrate the fact that the city is actually inhabited by a lot of non-human critters. And it's important to pay attention to them. So she's constantly sketching flowers, sketching centipedes, millipedes, spiders, all kinds of things that keep happening in the park, and documents and writes about it and puts it out all the time. Yeah. And I think that we need to find ways of doing this, because without that ability, there are a few people who know what's going on. I mean, there are people, washermen who would tell you that, look, this lake has actually never had this much water. Now it is getting water because you've messed up something somewhere else, right? A wetland, which was just a wetland until 10 years ago, now suddenly has turned into a big lake because we have started pumping a whole lot of sewage into it. It never was a lake to start with. Right? These kinds of issues are there all around our cities. Some of them are dead, some of them are gone. We don't even have the ability to take inventories, and it cannot happen because we have lost the ability to pay attention. You know, I saw such a one old gentleman in one of the workshops that I was running told me this, that people don't understand utar and chadav anymore in the city, which is the ups and downs in the city, because they don't walk anymore. Everybody is driving around, so you don't know unless you're cycling, unless you're walking, you don't know, right? Now, if you don't know that, then you don't know which way the water will flow. You don't know which house is going to get flooded. Only if you know where are the ups and downs, that you know where the water is going to go. It's that kind of a physical body culture that relates to things around you, which is what rocks are all about. And if we can somehow find ways of rebuilding it, I think we would actually be doing a lot. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you very much for having me over here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anant. Anyone else who would like to come in now? Okay. If there are no more responses, then yes, Uma, please go ahead.
So,
Yes, yes.
I just want to go back to Sita. And actually, Sita, I'd like you to also, talk about this, about artivism. And, I know both of us don't like the term so much, but it sort of definitely, is an easy way into understanding the intersections of art and social change. So that's what we use it as. I think, Sita, you too. So we get asked this question a lot, even in our screenings. Is your film an activist film? Is it an artivist film? These are categories that we don't sort of really fit into. This is just a labor of a bunch of people who love the city and put this together in the way that made sense to us. So now after that, what is happening with it? It is probably some kind of artivism, but I don't know if we strictly fall into the, old definitions of, in the 60s, in my film school days, it used to be called agitprop films, agitation propaganda films. We're definitely not that. We didn't want to be that. We don't think they work in a very deep way. But I do feel that works of art that speak emotionally, that connect people emotionally, that bring that recognition, that reconnection in viewers or audiences, I feel that is a good way to go, to build the conditions for change to happen. I have no illusions that a film can bring change. I'm very quite clear-headed about it, I think. Manur also. But both of us, our whole team, I could speak for our whole team here, we do have a sense that somewhere deep, a reflection, a self-reflection, a kind of transformation is possible. And I've used this often enough, this simile or metaphor for what art can do, what a film can do. And it's a nature metaphor. So for a crop to grow, you have to prep the soil. Only then will you get a good crop, right? The conditions of the soil have to be good. And so culture and art and cinema and film and documentary, all I'll put in poetry, our rap, everything I'll put in that, is like the rain that preps that soil for change to happen. So if we want a transformation in the way our city is going, if we want to keep this kind of balance that we all talk about between natural heritage and vibrant city growth, then that transformation has to happen. And this is a tool, as Anant said in the beginning. I think it's a decent tool. It's not the best film on the planet or anything like that, but it's a good tool. It documents some very profound things about our city and our culture. It documents the losses that we feel. It documents some of the grief that we felt. And so that process of prepping the soil for change, Sita, I think to answer your question, that's where I would position a work like this. So, but I want to hear from you, because we're just learning everything we've learned on this journey. You know, we didn't know anything when we started about geology or rocks or anything. And so and these beautiful revelations about our culture and how it honors this landscape, that was a learning as well. So this too, about how a film can work, is we're on this learning journey for that as well. So Sita, you have so much experience in art and activism, so you would probably, I would love to hear what you say about it.
Sita, do you want to respond?
Not really, but thank you, Uma. I actually think of it, we've talked about this a lot, you and I, Uma. I mean, and the words that were used in this conversation were lyrical, you know, like it wasn't a head-on attention to something, but it was attending to it through very clear-eyed observation. And I think of it as a poetics. So one doesn't necessarily have to think of it as activism, but there is political content and there's a poetic manner in which that is, what shall I say, represented and alluded to. And I like the sidestepping that happens in the film, you know, because it's like a long, diverse route through various conversations. And there's that sense of speaking to the environment and the rocks. That's it.
Yeah.
You should have had the last word, Uma, not me. Thank you.
No. I'd love to hear from others as well. Nikhila, you're
Yeah.
all people who think so much about all this. All of anyone. I mean, I would love to hear about this.
I don't know. If anyone else would like to respond. Yes, Murali Krishna, please go ahead.
Just a question. Any specific reason for using rap there?
Just like everything else, it was we decided together, you know, we were sitting one day in Mahanur's house and we were saying we don't want a narration, and we were saying, okay, so us old timers, we know this landscape, we know you know what we are losing, we feel this, and the youngsters that we are related to are feeling. So we have this context, but how do we talk to young people? How do we make this film speak to them? And that's how the idea of having rap came up. And we were clueless about rap. We had no idea. And fortunately, we found this great music team. I mean, I can't tell you how wonderful. Murto, who is the composer, Gopika, who sang it, Anuj Gurwara, who sang it, and all the musicians, George Hull, Keith Richards, you know, Akramul Haq. You know, there's so many people who contributed to the music of this film. And it was together that happened. And I can't forget to mention Usha Raman, who's she's a teacher in the city, an academic, a writer, a poet, and she's a friend. And when I thought, okay, now we have to do a rap. Now, how do we do a rap? And so I said, Usha, can you write a poem about this? I'll give you the context. And she said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And so that's how we started. And she wrote it in English. And then, Nikhila, to go back to your point, we didn't want everything in English. We don't talk like that in Hyderabad, right? Hindi enters, Telugu enters, Kannada enters, some Marathi enters. It's part of the way we talk. So, and then I wrote all the Dakhani, and there's so many beautiful Hyderabadi phrases like Ujad, Surat, and, stuff. It's just so rich. And it's such a complex of feelings that are communicated in just that one phrase, Ujad Surat, which Mahanur says actually in the film, in one of the real devastation shots of the landscape. And, so stuff like that. I added the Dakhani, that wonderful music that, the lyric that has been written by, I don't know, long back, Dakhan hai Hira, Anguthi hai Jag, Anguthi ki hurmat nagina hai lag. This was inspiring to us. So, that all made it, the only way we could bring that into the film, the only way we could bring all the stories that we knew, had gathered, the Vattepalli story, the Donga Mallanna story, was through the lyrics, because we could put it in otherwise the film would have been endless, animation after animation. How many stories can you tell? So that was the two reasons. One is to communicate to a younger audience, and have a more interesting style of a sutradhar. And secondly, to, be able to fit in all this content. Those were the two reasons for the rap.
It made a wonderful impression. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely communicate that to the team. They'll be thrilled.
Okay. If there are no more responses, let me thank everyone for joining tonight. Particularly thank Anant for all your responses, interventions, comments on the film. We love to hear what you made of the film as an entry point to larger discussions. Virtually, it's been your life work, and this the way you spoke about all that through this film was wonderful. Uma, thanks again for coming on TF4, for making the film link available to you, and for being such a strong supporter, well-wisher of TF4 throughout. Thank you all for joining. As you know, we meet online every Saturday night at 9 p.m. To discuss a film. So if you want, for the people who have just joined today, for those of you who don't know, we have a group on WhatsApp. If you contact Geeta or me, we will add you to the WhatsApp group, or if you're comfortable on Facebook, we can add you to the Facebook group where we'll post links each week of the film that we will be discussing. So hope to see you all next week, same time on Saturday at 9 p.m. Have a very good night, and good evening, good morning, wherever you are in different parts of the world. And happy weekend. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Anant.
you. Thank you very
Uma.
much.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Good
See you
night.
next week.